Welcome to Reality Aftershow. This is already a mess, but hey, welcome to the season 43 premiere. It's not Johnny or Matt. That's probably why something's messed up. I got Dan with me. Dan, how you doing? How are you feeling about the beginning of season 43?
I'm feeling pretty good so far. I think, we got a really solid premiere episode. We got to know a lot of these characters. We got to see a bunch of things that we're going to dive into, but I think we started off on a pretty good note. What are your initial thoughts?
I enjoyed it. It was a little long in the tooth for me at times. We got a lot of tribe life dynamics. But I think they made some good tweaks to the 41-42 formula. We don't have phrases. We don't have a bunch of advantages right out the gate. We got to have a lot of time with a lot of the contestants. You can sort of already see who some of the bigger name players are going to be. And only one tribal. I like that we only have one tribal because it allows us to get to know people along the way instead of losing two people right off the bat. But yeah, so we get started. We get the usual preamble of we're back in Fiji. We get 12 of the 18 people with an opening confessional or like quote before they get to the mat, which I think is a little higher than usual. Yeah, a lot. We got Ryan, Nika, Noelle, Mariah, Sammy, Lindsay, Carla, Cody, Cassidy, Ellie, James, and Owen all with opening lines. What I found really cool though was the two that came across more to me was with Sammy. They had every time he listed like one of his occupations or like the fact he was a student, they would keep adding additional thing to his Chiron on the bottom third. That one was really good. And also Owens, like, oh, I always dreamed about getting that old school graphic of the opening credits, and they gave it to him. I was like, well, why can't you just do that? Just do it.
Yeah, both of those were pretty good, because when you started seeing Sammy's, all of them pop up, you got a little bit of the Debbie flashback. Now hers was obviously different because they change it every single time, but it was nice. Yeah, and I thought it was nice hearing from a lot of these people because maybe at this point, we're still learning who they are unless you went deep down the rabbit hole of all the pregame interviews. But between getting little snippets from them in the beginning and then Jeff asking most of the rest of them questions, it's kind of a nice way to introduce the entire cast to you. And it's not, 3 episodes in and you're like, I've never seen that person on my TV screen before.
Yeah. So then they obviously get to the shore and right away we get our questions. I love when he goes to the Coco tribe. He goes like, you in the blue shirt in the back, and points to the two guys in blue shirts in the back. But really all those are about like either they've been diehard day one fans or they've been or like survivors, something that brought their family together, brought them close with their parents or whatever. So like we're playing with for them. And like, so that's sort of where we are. It's a lot of family oriented answers, which sort of goes with the preview that they were doing as we were building up the 43, where they kept saying like, oh, Survivor's about family, the one you got and the one you're about to make. So I'm assuming that's going to be a theme across this season. But you can just tell everyone's sort of just excited to be there, ready to go, ready. They're just like, Jeff, let's just get to the challenge. I want to get our fire because we learned that it's still the same thing. What we had in 41-42 is going to continue. Everything you're going to win, you're going to earn. So we have our marooning reward challenge that if you win, only one tribe wins. You only get a pot, machete, and flint. Everything else you have to earn. If you lose, at least now everyone knows you're going to have a second opportunity to try to earn those. And we all know that will eventually be the Savvy and Sweat challenge. So what do you think about that still continuing from the last 2 seasons into this season?
As far as the start goes, I think I'm completely okay with that because, it's nothing new. Going back to some of the, obviously maybe not, the very first seasons, but, once you got into, the teens and started to get the swing of things that, okay, when you have that first challenge right off the bat, it's for Flint. And if they're trying to make it harder and they're going to stick at the 26-day format, then yeah, if you don't win that opening challenge, make him do something else to try to earn it. So that is one of the changes that I'm actually perfectly fine with. I think it's a nice twist, and it's a bigger incentive right off the bat, where it's not just, oh, well, you didn't get your flint here, but you'll get it in a day or so. Like, you still have to earn it.
Right. So let's get into this challenge. Well, actually, we first have our tribe dynamics. So we have the red tribe, yellow tribe, and the blue tribe. The red tribe is the Vesey tribe that has Justine, Noel, Jesse, Cody, Nika, and Dwight. The yellow tribe is the Baca tribe. That's Mariah, Gabler, not Mike, Sammy, Owen, Ellie, and Janine. And then the blue tribe is the Coco tribe, and that's James, Cassidy, Gio, Ryan, Carla, and Lindsay. Right out the gate, I feel a lot more even spread for the most part of physical ability and what we could potentially see from competitions as opposed to last season, which is already a big improvement when you don't put the two heavily focused fitness people on the same tribe.
Yeah, I think it was balanced a lot more because, we saw that last season, even going back to 41, it was that blue tribe that had, Danny, Nasir on it, that they were all workhorses. So it was like, all right, they're never going to win. And you see it throughout the two challenges here. And I'm sure, we'll see it moving forward, that there isn't this dominant tribe where it's going to be like, you need a perfect day to beat that tribe. I think it's, hey, depending upon the challenge, it can be pretty balanced playing out in the pre-merge.
Absolutely. So I agree. I'm very excited. I feel like this isn't a season where I feel like hopefully we have a similar thing as 42, where we sort of have more of a balanced boot in the pre-merge, where we have all the tribes going to tribal council instead of one constantly going. Mm-hmm. I fear that could be the case with this Vesey tribe. No, not Vesey. Baca tribe, the yellow one. I do fear for them, but I think they've laid the groundwork throughout this episode for what could cause the downfall of each of the tribes, I feel. Mm-hmm. So we have plot points, and that's great heading into the next episode, which I also believe is a 90-minute episode. And maybe that's them testing out to see, can 90 minutes work? It's either that or maybe the Big Brother finales then. I think that it's actually on a Sunday, but who knows? I'll take 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you see in just this opening episode where, as you mentioned, it's kind of nice to, let's just see one long episode, only one tribe that goes to tribal, because you get to learn a lot more about these people because you're going into it. I mean, what we learned throughout this episode isn't just, okay, a few of who may be in the majority of an alliance on each tribe, is you get a lot of the different dynamics and almost what we see in every tribe. We have to see how it plays out moving forward, is that there's people that have options. And it seems like, okay, depending upon how things go, these could shake out in a lot of different ways, just based upon the relationships that we've already seen.
Yeah. And we'll get more into like some of what we're seeing with these tribes as we get into the tribal, because that's a big portion of this episode. It's like over an hour of the episode is tribe dynamics, which is very interesting, very fun to see. But yeah, so the Maroon challenge, and obviously I'll do the challenges because Johnny thinks that I have an encyclopedia in my head, but no, I just take good enough notes, or in the case of the challenge, it's usually extremely straightforward, so easy to remember. But yeah, for the Maroon challenge, you're splitting up into pairs of two. First, you have two people running down the beach. Didn't look that far to retrieve two heavy crates. Once that happens, two more of your team will run into the water and pull in a boat that has more of your crates. And then the last two will put all the crates together to form a cube. And then one of them will get on top of the cube to retrieve their flint from a pole. Dan, you talk about this challenge while I back out of here and come in to try to fix this so that we can actually end this video when we're done.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alex, he just kind of set it up exactly what we're seeing. And so right off the bat, you have two people from each tribe that are running forward. From the Vesey tribe, you have Jesse and Cody that are running. From the Baca tribe, you have Owen and Sammy. And from the Coco tribe, you have Ryan and Gio. And right off the bat, it's going to be a theme that we're seeing throughout the entire episode, that Ryan might be a challenge beast, because he's, as they're going, when they flip it around to see who's coming back first, you see that he's the first one back. He's, running. He has his crate that's already up on his shoulder, and he's back well before anyone else. As it starts coming, you see I believe it's Cody from the Baca Tribe, Sammy from Baca. They're coming, and everyone's getting back, continuing with Ryan kind of being a beast. And then even, Cody to some extent, as you see them have to go and help their teammate kind of get everything back to their tribe mat. And then, so, Alex just explained, and you guys all saw, the next portion of the challenge is they're going out to retrieve more from the water. You see that the Baca Tribe, they're still out in front. They're followed, pretty closely behind by Baca, and then Vessi is, they're getting there. And so let's see, that's retrieving the pieces out in the water. For Vessi, you have Noelle and Justine that are going. For Baca, it's going to be Gabler and Ellie. And then for Coco, it is Carla and Cassidy.
Really, with this challenge, it all comes down to the pole and how to retrieve the flint. Because I do notice, like, the pole's probably heavy. It's probably very long. And just like the ramp in the actual immunity challenge, the incline is a lot steeper than what I used to seeing from US Survivor. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised when we have Cody, of all people, go, because I wouldn't have expected him to be like this, going, there's a hole in the pole. Just stick the flint in the hole and then drag it out. And that's what gets them the win.
It absolutely was. And it took, so my thought when I was originally watching it is, you can see that they're all trying to move it with more on the side of the pole. My thought was, okay, well, why are you not trying to push it with the end of the pole? Because you might, get to the point where you're not going to lose it and see the key slide off, like it kept happening to them. But Cody took that one step further, and as soon as that happened, I mean, that was an automatic win for that Baca Tribe.
Yeah, and that obviously puts them right onto the right momentum. You get a good win. You get the pot, machete, you get your flint. We obviously see they have struggles making the fire, making the shelter. But yeah, so they win. The other two tribes have to do the sweater savvy reward or award challenge to try to gain those supplies. So okay, so we first see Vessi back at camp. And Cody feels alive. He feels everything, from his bones to his muscles, from top to his hair follicles, everything. He's a very high energy guy. We're seeing that immediately. And I think we're obviously also getting pinpointed to what's going to be his downfall, where he says, I'm not afraid to play balls to the wall immediately and play with this high energy, which I think will be a very big mistake. But he's interesting. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think I agree with you to the fact that it's definitely, I think it's starting to lay some seeds of what's going to be his downfall, or where things may go wrong in this game for him. But I also think that he's a very good person to have on the season. He's someone that I can see getting a lot of screen time for as long as he's there, just for his outward personality and kind of the way he goes about the game. And so while I don't necessarily, think, okay, he's has a legitimate shot at winning the game, I think he's going to be a fun character for as long as he's around. And I'm hoping that it's at least a while.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a while. I think he has a very short stay on this island, but we'll see what happens. We obviously now get highlighted to Dwight and about how he used to watch his family, and his family's going to rag on him because none of the people on his tribe know how to make shelter. That's going to be their main thing throughout this. So we move over to the Baca Tribe. Gabler immediately is talking about how, like, this is a very positive tribe, a lot of personality, a lot of fun, but I'm clearly the oldest. I'm clearly going to be in a disadvantage. And I feel like he just immediately ran into that archetype of, like, I'm going to make it very known I'm the old guy and that I'm the odd man out. And it seems to have worked later on of building connections with people, but I don't think that's how the initial impression was.
No, so I mean, Gabler's probably one of the people that my opinion changed 3-4 times throughout the episode, because it was like every time you got something different from him. And there were some things, that you see in the, where he's more accepting, he's, trying to learn about people that were very good. And then I'm sure we will hit on the things as we go throughout the episode where it's just like, oh man, what are you doing? Like this, just stop.
Right. But that obviously leads us into both of them and the Cocoa Tribe seeing Sweater Savvy. And we see both of them pick two different things here. And I do like that they're changing up what the challenge was. You obviously had to change it for 43 because they got a chance to see 41, 42. So if you pick the savvy reward, the premise is still the same. You have this big hourglass that has a 4-hour limit. You have to complete either task within that 4-hour limit to gain your pot, your machete, your flint, or at least pot and machete. No, yeah, and the flint, because they still get the flint taken away. So we see the Baca Tribe choose Savvy, despite Sammy's attempt to want the sweat. And at first you're thinking, like, why does he want to immediately do sweat? Why would he want to isolate himself? Is he trying to be like the caretaker of the tribe? No, it's because he's like, I actually have all these skills and I want to hide the stuff that they wouldn't expect me to be good at. So I want to do sweat. But yeah, Owen on the other side is just like, I think we should all just get along and work together as a group here.
Yeah, and from Owen's point of view, I thought that was pretty good, because if they were going to do the sweat, he was the other obvious choice for that Baca Tribe. And I mean, I think it's a pretty good mindset. I know it's one that I'd be similar to. It's just like, oh, no. Like, I don't want to be separated. Like, let's just, if we're one tribe, let's work on it together. And so, yeah, I mean, Sammy kind of gets overturned here and they end up choosing the savvy option.
Yeah, obviously it ends up working out for both tribes, but we see on the Cocoa Tribe, Ryan immediately says he'll dig, and after not doing great on the first challenge, Gio says, like, I'll dig too. And for James, it's like, that's perfect. As long as I'm the one who's not digging, I'll gladly go with the ladies and get some time to bond with them while you two are out here digging a hole, which is the sweat challenge. Is you're digging, instead of the filling a barrel with water, you are digging a hole within this big parameter to find it. Works out because Ryan has the idea of work smarter, not harder. Instead of digging a bunch of random spots, let's dig in an X formation, gets the most parts taken care of without having to do all the effort. And they're able to find their stuff within 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was really good. And, when I was talking about the beginning of the first challenge, it's just showing once again that it's highlighting a lot of Ryan's skills, and it isn't going to be the last time that we see it in this episode, that he has a lot of tools to be really good at this game. Whether it'll work is a whole different story, but it's, we're getting a lot of highlights of, hey, he has a lot of good ideas, and so far they've really been working out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, this is also where we get more in depth into his cerebral palsy as a newborn baby, because he was born 3 months early, was told he would never walk, but his mom basically said no, he'll find a way, and they do 4 years of therapy. He learns to walk, and as we see today, he's physically fit, but he's also had to rewire his brain to really figure out how to live life in this new format for him. And he thinks this is something that will benefit him out on the island. So we will see how that goes. He wants to play like Rupert, which I know Johnny must be thrilled by. I think Ryan's not giving himself enough credit. I feel like he can be better than Rupert, even though I think on this tribe he's definitely in a clear minority.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's the two sides of what we've seen at Ryan is he's been really impressive in the challenges, but he is one of the people that we do get some strategy with him as the episode goes along, but he's a lot of the times one of the people that's been left out of that conversation from what we've seen anyway.
Yeah, so then we get back to the Vessi tribe, or no, not Vessi, oh my god, Baca tribe, the Yellow tribe. And Sammy is realizing, like, while I don't want to, like, show my brains, I also sort of want us to have a good tribe dynamic. So I'm going to tell them, split one of the zeros and turn it into multiple ones and add another one. And he's able to figure out you can turn this 4-digit number into a 6-digit number, and if you put the 2 bones that you take out of the 0 towards the back half, you get 511,810. They go for it, they get it. Sammy's he has a weird edit for me. Like I think he's getting a good impression from his tribe of like he's helping them. He helps them get fire. He helps them win that challenge. He's is seen as one of the stronger people on the tribe. But everything about his confessionals, I'm like, I feel like they don't want us to like him. I'm not sure. It's a very weird edit for him.
Yeah, he's kind of all over the map this episode, from how we see him interact with his tribe to how he is in confessionals, like you said. And I don't know. I guess I understood his point of not, okay, he didn't want to come out as being more threatening, but it's day one, you're trying to win. And I think when it comes to something like what this savvy challenge is, where it's just, okay, he figured out the little hack to turn it into 2 1s. I don't think it's something that it paints him as, okay, he's, going to be super strategic and be great at puzzles. So maybe that's just him in his head already thinking that he's this massive threat, because he is still so young and maybe has a bit more of an ego on him, that it's, to him, this is just playing him up to be this dominant force in this game, which I think, as everyone has seen and throughout episode 1, I don't know about that.
We will see with him. We also see him lying about his age, because there's always a bad impression about 19-year-olds playing. So I'm going to be 22 instead. At least he made it a age that's believable. Yeah. I will give him that. But end of the day, 19, 22 doesn't really make a difference to me.
No, I mean, especially once you get to someone that's like Gabler, or probably even like, I can't forget everyone's age, but like Owen, Mariah, and Ellie are the ones that like, they're all in late 20s to like the early 30s. So to like them, yeah, there isn't going to be much of a difference between 19 and 22. They're going to still both look at him as, okay, he's just a young kid.
Right.
And Alex is gone. I'm assuming, I apologize, everyone. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with this podcast. So we see that option.
Sorry about that.
Alex is back. Okay, perfect.
I'm still messing around trying to get this thing to work.
Not a problem.
I don't know how this stream's going to end, to be honest. But continue.
Oh, what was that? Oh, I was just kind of going, honestly, I just lost my train of thought. So we can pick up at your next note.
Okay. Okay, so we get to Vessi Tribe, and this is where we're starting to get dynamics. Noelle, because of similar age as Justine, and she sees Justine as like a very hard worker and everything, they're bonding very quickly. But Cody, Jesse, and Nika are seeing that too. Cody automatically wants to paint a target on Justine because Justine does sales. I also do sales, but no one knows I do sales, even though I said I work for an elevator escalator company. So what else do I think they're going to be doing if you say that's what you do for work? But he wants to like make sure it's evidently clear she works in sales. She needs to go. Nika's fine with that because Nika's like, I always work with men, so that's easy for me. But we have Jesse who's like, I'm gonna weigh my options. The two girls want to work with me. You guys want to work with me. That's great. Dwight's somewhere. We don't know what Dwight's involvement is.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jesse gets put in a great position here, and it's one of the first rules of Survivor. Someone comes up to you and asks you, "Hey, do you want to be in an alliance?" Especially early on, just say yes. Figure it out later.
Right. I'm really liking Jesse's positioning on this tribe. Even though he didn't get one of the opening quotes, I feel like we are going to see him for a very long time in this game. And I love his story. We could sort of talk on that also, where he talks about his tattoos that he used to have, but he got removed. He was in a gang growing up, but while he was in juvie, he was in an educational program, which really helped open his eyes to what he could do instead. And now he's living a lot better life because of it. Really cool story. Cut to, and Cody has a tattoo of living on his ass cheek.
Yeah, not surprising. That I think, as we were talking about Cody earlier, that pretty much just fits the bill as what you'd expect.
Yeah, and then so let's move over to Baca. Baca's dynamics are, at first we're getting from Owen. Owen's like, no one wants to strategize. I have this itch to play the game, but everyone's being cagey. And I feel like that's what's going to bite this tribe in the butt at the end of the day, is no one wanting to make the first move. Cut to Ellie. Ellie's ready to play the game. Ellie's like, I'm willing to work with the girls. Let's do this girl thing. That's going to end by the end of this episode. But I'm very much seeing physically the Michelle Fitzgerald vibe that everyone that her friend saw in her. Mm-hmm. So I have her in that mindset right now, but I think she's more of an outward strategist than Michelle was on Survivor. I like it though. I like her. She's playing bold. I don't think she made I think she may have made the right decision this episode, even though I thought they were setting it up for Sammy or Gabler to go. But she's also someone that we're sort of seeing as should be a dynamic character of this season. We get the emotional story about her older sister who died of a drug overdose in 2020. But how she carries her with her through life. And it actually pays in benefits when she goes and makes a bond with Gabler over metal music. So we already know that's right up Matt Bischoff's alley. Matt Bischoff wants to probably meet Gabler now and talk some heavy metal.
Yeah, when they're talking about that and the first thing that comes out is Mastodon, I would have loved to see Matt's reaction to the viewing party that they're at.
I also would have loved to see Matt's reaction. Oh, man. And if no one knows where they are, they're at the Pinball Garage in Ohio and having a blast at their after party while we are here facing technical difficulties where I have no idea how to end the stream when I do not have an option to end the stream. So, for all we know, this will be lost in time. But that's sort of it seems like Ellie sort of is the one taking charge of this tribe. So I think that's ultimately why we don't see Gabler as a true target in this episode, is because of the bond that they have made. And now Ellie sort of has him as a number.
Yeah, I think it's definitely setting up from this that she's going to be the one that's going to be determining how this tribe goes in the pre-merge. I think it's what Owen was originally trying to do when he was kind of going to everyone, saying, oh, I'll let you know if you hear my name. And maybe he did it too early, or there was just something that was off-putting. Who knows what the reason was, where I think Ellie did exactly what he was trying to do. And I think, yeah, she's going to call it who's safe and who goes, at least for the next few episodes.
All I'm going to say is Owen's been hyping this season up way too much to be an early boot. Like, the amount of hype he's been putting in, the amount that the Survivor community has been putting into him, like, if he's like the second or third boot this season, like, man, like, good on him for being as enthusiastic as he is. But I was telling a friend, like, I felt I got high vibes from him, like,
yeah,
in the preseason. Like, he's giving me that where I feel like he will make it farther, but he's probably gonna get like 9th or 8th place.
Yeah, I think with Owen, and no, not jumping, too far ahead, because this goes when they were with Tribal, but I don't know if it's a point that'll really be made there. But we've talked about Ellie and how she's making these decisions, and Owen was an option. But the fact that they went with Mariah, I think it's showing that I'm waiting to see the seeds as the season moves forward of a close relationship between Ellie and Owen. I think that could kind of be her number one, or at least, maybe number 2 as they continue to move forward.
Right. But that's sort of what we're seeing from them prior to getting taken away to what used to be Shipwheel Island. It's not that anymore. I don't know what we're going to call this one. But last tribe dynamics is Coco Camp, where the girls immediately all click. They're good. Lindsay says, like, I've always wanted an all-girls thing to work in this game. Let's try to make it happen here. But in order for it to work, we do need to have a guy with us. I want James. Which gives me confidence in James' positioning on this tribe moving forward. He seems to be very well liked across the board. We get his I played in the US Open in chess at the age of 12 for his age bracket and won. So obviously the whole point is there's a mind behind him. Like, his philosophy is, I'm the king, but I want to be seen as moving like a pawn. I never heard it phrased that way, but I sort of dig it.
Yeah, I really liked his, how that was all tied into what was going on, that it was, he's talking to people, he's trying to get a better sense of where they are, and he's okay, at this point, talking to the 3 other women and saying, hey, I'll be around, and making it seem like he doesn't really have an upper hand here. But I think it's also setting the seeds to show that, maybe there is a method to his madness, and there's a plan that he already has worked out in his head or is coming up with, that I think it'll be really interesting to see him moving forward over the next few episodes.
Yeah. Other points are Carla, who finds herself placed in the middle because she has a relationship with that group, as well as a relationship with Ryan and Gio. Especially with Gio, they bond over both being Latina in gay marriages, and how that can sort of be more harmful in a Latino or a Hispanic community, a Hispanic family, where, like, I think Gio says that I don't think was it that his husband couldn't see his family, or
correct? Yeah.
So that was a good moment. I feel like that was an obligatory one they had to give Gio. I was in his preseason press, I'm pretty sure. I don't see Gio surviving this game long. I think Carla knows she's in the middle, but will ultimately have to sacrifice Gio there. I feel like it's the fate of him on that tribe. But we won't know because we got a boat. Time for a boat. We see for Baca and for Coco, they sort of do random assignment to pick people to go, and that's how Carla and Gabler go. But for Vesey, Cody sort of pushes Dwight into going because Dwight's this young super fan who's like very eager to do it but doesn't want to like outwardly say it. So Dwight ends up going. And as they get there, instead of like going up a mountain, you're going through this big path of water filled with rocks, filled with moss, to this location where it's instead of like we're still in the risk or no risk, but now it's more of a cards are out on the table, literally, which I like this so much more than the okay, you talk, now go to your sheltered spot in private, and you'll never know until you reach tribal council if the other people risked or not. I like that you have to do it to their face and then show whether you're lying or not to their faces right then and there. And then depending on how many people risk their vote, because only 3 people can be there at a time, you would pick either the bag that had a 1 or 2 or a 3. Obviously, if you pick the bag that's only 1, you get the advantage. But if you pick 2 or 3, only one person still gets the advantage, and everyone else who didn't get the advantage, lose their vote. I think Gabler had to do this. I don't think Dwight or Carla needed to, unless Dwight did feel like how the edit was showing us, and it's sort of like there's dynamics happening and he's not involved in either of them.
Yeah, and I think this was, it was one of the good things from Gabler by being the first one, because if you're not going to come up with a strategy to try to just give it to someone, which they didn't do, and honestly, this early in the game, I think that would be, kind of dumb to do so, unless you're really trying to set things up further down the line. But to be the first one out there saying, I'm feeling like risking it, that lets everyone know right there, the other two, that, hey, at the very least, it's 50-50. Like, I'm not getting it. And I thought it was smart by him, because that could have even been part of the reason why Carla was just like, well, what's the point? Like, why not just keep it safe? Because I'm sure she was able to get a read on Dwight. And if they talked as much as he kind of did to the Vesey tribe about being a super fan, you could probably get the sense that Dwight was probably going to do it as well.
Right. So we obviously do see Dwight and Gabler bet on it. And I like that Gabler leaves them going like, oh, we'll come back to the merge. I can't wait to play you. And Carlos just like, sure, I'm going to say yes, but like, I doubt either of you will be there. That got me. But before we go to like their tribe dynamics, risking or not risking is very important in life. You don't want one thing you don't want to risk is your proper grooming. And we have just the thing to help you with that. And we'll be right back.
Support for Reality Aftershow is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it! 4000K LED! No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive reality after show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, patron.com.
And we're back. So we get back to camp, and we see both of them decide to tell pretty much the full truth. One tribe believes entirely. One doesn't, or at least some of the people don't. I have mixed feelings on this. You sort of have to with this type of season, knowing what happened in 41, 42. Like, you can't just say, oh, nothing happened, we just talked. You sort of like have to say what happened. But why would I say, oh, I did risk?
Yeah, I think the only reason why they'd say it is just after seeing it in 41 and 42, and not just seeing how it played out, but then also seeing the reception from their tribes when they came back, that if you say you didn't risk it, which, you know, Carla obviously did, but going back there, I don't think I would, you know, after just seeing that, would believe that person whatsoever. And you saw that, you know, in the previous seasons where it was so evident was, I don't believe their story at all. So I think by going, it's why it was maybe foolish of Dwight to even volunteer to go or want to go, because I would avoid going there like the plague at all costs, because I don't see any benefit.
Right. And then you have Mike or Gabler who does it and then immediately goes like, oh, I'm going to go check right there, like 10 paces to the left, and see if I got it or not. And I'm going to howl if I got it right. But like everyone reacts so well to it. It was crazy. Like this tribe is very much just like positive vibes right now. And I think that's also partially what brings him closer to Ellie, ultimately.
Yeah, and so real quick, just mentioning, you know, Sean in the chat just said, you say don't risk it, but the other two did. I mean, we saw that happen in the past few seasons, and everyone came back and was like, I don't believe that person whatsoever. So I think it's kind of difficult. But going into, you know, back to Gabler, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I actually liked that it was an immunity idol, but it was something that was only for the first two, because it's not, you know, on day 2 that this probably is. I think it's too early to just be gifted something that can impact the game all the way to the final 6. So I was okay with it being an immunity idol, but it had limitations on it. What did you think about that?
I like that too. I like that it's automatic idol. He earned it by risking it. You don't have to do any other nonsense for it. I always love an advantage with a time limit or a shot clock. You know, I feel like it's an opportunity, like he said, to build goodwill and trust. My issue was telling the whole tribe it. Like, I always think if you want to build trust, you want to build with a majority, and then work from there.
Yeah, and maybe the right way to go about it, as you know, we were talking, what's the right thing to do, is say you didn't risk it, but then share that with the people that you're trying to bring in. The only thing, you know, as we saw with Baca, is that their tribe dynamics is no one really wanted to make the first move there. So that early on, maybe you didn't feel like, I guess, have a good read on who you wanted to bring in. So it was a bit of a risk, but you could break that down a ton of different ways.
Right. Yeah. But that's what he wants to happen. And from there, we head right into the immunity challenge. One sec. I am talking with tech support right now for StreamYard to show them what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the things was also is you did see that, you know, Dwight kind of told his story, and he did come back and he did show him, you know, the piece of parchment. But by doing that, he also advertised that, oh, you'd be an easy first vote because you can't.
Right. And like, in theory, that's correct. Like, you could always blindside someone with an idol, especially if they feel confident, or if you're like Gabriel, like, oh, I wanted to find one but never used one. Uh, but that leads us to the immunity challenge. And let me get to the notes there. So for the immunity challenge, you're going through like the trenches, the mud. Then you're going into the like what would you call it? Like the little like debris of like wood flakes or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like wood chips type thing.
Yeah, wood chips. To find your 3 balls, hopefully properly manscaped using promo code Survivor.
No
they
moss.
love it when we do that. Then you have to have one person dig under a log and then cut a rope to release a ramp. Get everyone over the ramp, over a balance beam, which you can untie a bunch of knots to then make the balance beam a lot easier to go across. And then you get the choice, if you're first, of 3 different types of tables for the balls to be used. And then if you're second, you get 2 choices, and if you're last, you get whatever's remaining. I liked that at the choice. But the kicker was 2 people win immunity after the last 2 seasons, where if Jackson didn't have to be removed from the game, it was most likely going to be 2 people getting booted. It's only 1 tribe winning. What did you think of only 1 tribe winning, or 1 tribe going to tribal council this episode?
I liked it getting back to that because, as we mentioned, we got a lot more of the camp life, which I think is very important, especially early on in the seasons, because we're trying to get to know these people. We're getting invested in them. So I like that. And it's also, I mean, there's very few things about Survivor that are fair. It's just the nature of the game. But I think losing 2 people that early when, you're going off of this is day 2, day 3, I think you only need to lose one of them in a standard season. And, because you want to see the most of, what opportunities people are making out there. So I actually really like them going back to 2 hours, only 1 person going home for the opening episode.
I love the fact of just like giving time to even though I will say I didn't like the editing of this episode knowing who goes home, because we really didn't get their story.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I also just found out that because of the wonkiness of this, if we leave at the end of this, it'll close in a few minutes after the screen's empty. So we're good here, folks. We are trying here. We are on the struggle bus, but we're persevering. Like Jeff says, you gotta dig deep. That's what we're doing here. Who didn't dig deep was Janine.
She did not dig nearly deep enough.
Honestly, I felt bad for her because it also looks like I think it's from the digging portion. You see after the challenge, she had like mud on her chin, and then there's no mud chin in tribal council. She definitely scraped her chin trying to get underneath that log. I don't want to give her a ton of flack because it's not easy to do those things, and I get why they chose her because she was the smallest. In theory, if you're small and fit, less space you have to dig up, easier to squeeze through. But sometimes we have seen time and time again, sometimes the bigger people are also just nearly as fast at doing it.
Yeah, and from right here, it starts, it's Johnny's typical go over something, under something, over something, and do a puzzle. Now, there is a little bit more to it to that, but it's sorry, go ahead.
But for going over, does Johnny ever mention that you have to lose your pants in the process?
I don't think that's ever been brought up before in the past.
Because James went for it. I don't know if these pants was because of the mud, or he has already lost enough weight in a couple days where they were, or if they were already loose to begin with. But he's like helping everyone up, and then he's trying to get up, and I was like, wait, wasn't he wearing pants? And then you look down and they're at his ankles, and he tries to put them up again. Ryan has to push him up. Ryan then gets himself back up, and you just hear this snide comment of, get your pants back on.
Yeah, and from all this, you pretty much just see that this is Ryan's challenge, and everyone else is just trying to keep up.
Honestly, good on Ryan. Like Ryan said, he wanted to be like Rupert. He wanted be a provider, and obviously being Rupert, you have to be for the most part, good at the tribal challenges, I want to say. At least in Pearl Islands, but that you could also attribute a lot of that to Johnny helping plan out where people went on their tribe for challenges.
And Burton for those first few.
I would rather compare Ryan to the good qualities of Burton. He's not Burton at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not in the slightest. But it's like he has the edit of good, well-intentioned that Rupert has, but the physical ability of Burton. If that makes sense.
I think that's a good combination there. Especially, after one episode from what we've seen.
So, ultimately, we do see the Coco tribe get down first. And they choose the maze table. Because I think for a lot of people that want to go in Survivor, some people are able to get the materials to replicate challenges. I think from Lindsay's standpoint, she said they should do the maze one because she said it would be the easiest, which I agree. But also, I think that's the one that's more well recognized of the three.
I think it was the right call to make, with it being they could see that they had a decent lead and all you had to do was not come in last. If it was in past seasons where, only one tribe was safe, now they still finished first, but I think they would have been better off with a different going with the puzzle that Vesey did. But, in this situation, I think it was the right call.
Right, because then Vesey's second, they choose the straight path one, which, have we seen that before? Or is this the first time we've seen it? I don't recall it.
We've seen variations before. There was one that was very similar in the beginning of everyone's favorite season, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. But I believe with that, what was different was there were, here you could see that there were gaps, where before you were able just to move it, there was always some part of the rail that had a little bit of it. So if you just got the right, timing down, you were able to just bounce it back and forth and go real quickly, because you see it happen in that season. But I think, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the first one where there are the gaps on the straight shot.
Okay. I really like that one, but I also think that was the one that they thought would be picked last as the way to be like the third place team comes in. They have to use this straightaway one that's high risk, high reward, but they end up getting it and they win immunity. And the person who picked the second one goes to tribal. Like, I think in their head, that's what was going to happen. But Vesey Smart, they pick it. They have very good teamwork between Jesse and Noel that figure it out. We do not get good teamwork from Sammy and Gabler. If I'm Sammy, you know what? I would let the person who works on, who's a heart valve surgeon, to lead the way. Let the person with the best steady hands guide the ship. You are muscle. I know you have some brains behind there. You don't want to be showing your brains, so let Gabler guide the ship.
Yeah, I think that's very much where, we were talking about it earlier that, there's, if you're a little bit older, you're not going to see much of a difference between, 19 or 22, which that doesn't come into play. But I think it very much just shows that, okay, he's a young kid, just the way that he's acting, the way that he's talking, that it's just, this isn't going to be the way to right the ship here.
See, I thought that, like, they were showing us that to, like, really show that, like, the story behind, like, Sammy's rise and then, like, very quick crash. Because, like, obviously, so they lose, they take it hard. And we also have Sammy with the confessional going into the break of, like, now the game truly starts. I'm like, oh, he's going home. Like, I'm literally texting with Phil from The Specialist going, like, yeah, it's very clearly going to be him, or they blindside Gabler somehow into going home, because that's the story that they're telling. Up to this point, that's the story. Like, there's no reason for us to believe any of the girls are at risk. There is somewhat of a reason to think Owen could be at risk because of his nobody is strategizing. Like, no one wants to, everyone's being super cagey. and you could have made the edit about like they were just being cagey with him. Could you have people like Sammy and Mariah like, no, we see him as a threat? Like everyone has now said on that tribe, or at least Ellie and Sammy in particular have vocally said in confessionals that I see him as a long-term threat in this game. Instantly, that's a problem. But I was sort of like caught off guard. We get back in, and we get some Gabler stuff, and we'll get back to it. But the meat and potatoes here is Ellie's like, we need to value the tribe strength. I know I said I want to do girls. I think we have to do Mariah. And I almost fell out of my chair. I was just like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah, there was nothing that set that up because there was no mention of. She really didn't have much of a mention this entire episode. Prior to this was just that, okay, 3 girls were together.
3 girls were together. And going like back to oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, going back to for those of you that listened to, it was myself, Johnny, and Matt with Mike Turner from last season, as we were talking about Sammy heading into the break. One of the things is we did the cast assessment for Baca, and it was Janine that she said one of her pet peeves that she hated was mansplaining. And first, we then had to explain to Matt what mansplaining meant. And so what I was really excited for, what I thought we were going to happen is Sammy's so upset, he's going to go mansplain to Janine. And I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get it, but fingers crossed, maybe a future episode.
There was a brief moment where I thought Janine was going to like flip the script entirely. I was texting with Phil and I was just like, oh, this is where she's going to say, let's not go after Mariah. Let's go after Sammy and send Sammy out if you don't want to do Owen. But we barely leave. Gabler comes in. I'm the old guy, I also love that they make you try to say how hard Survivor is by comparing it to your occupation. And they told him like, say how this is tougher than open heart surgery. Just say it. And he does, because he's a fan of the show. And he's like, oh, I work in heart surgery, but nothing ever felt as intense as that challenge. Okay. But he wants everyone to know he had 3 goals. He wanted to learn about himself through hardship. He wanted to play a great game. And by all of us competing that challenge, we have played a terrific game. He used a different term, but I didn't write that down. And his third was, I wanted to win an immunity idol. But he doesn't want to hide behind the idol. So he will use his shot in the dark instead. And everyone's reacting the way that Dan's reacting right now.
Why? Like, this is where, I was a little, going into it was skeptical of Gabler, but, the way that he was playing it, I was like, oh, okay, like maybe he has some legs for this, this game, it's going to go well. And then that happened and it was immediately like, okay, maybe my first thought was right.
He just felt he was part of what caused them to lose and should be at risk tonight. But I do wish someone would have gave the counterpoint of just for the fun of it, be like, okay, I get it. I respect that. You don't want to hide behind your idol. But you want to hide behind a shot in the dark? Just vote.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like what Ellie says of just like, hey, I value you as a number here. We need your vote, sir. Could you please not act like a little I was about to say the F word. I will not say it here. This has been enough of a podcast already with the technical difficulties, and I will apologize to all of you for the weirdness of this. This isn't how all the podcasts are going to go all season. It's just a weird thing tonight. But he's acting like a dumbass. Please stop acting like a dumbass.
All you have to do there is just say, I have it. I'm not going to play my idol tonight, so I'm up on the block. And then what you still have the option to do if you start hearing your name, it could be a lie. But I think it could have been as simple as that, not just, shot in the dark. Why not? I don't understand how you could even come to this is the right move to go.
The thing that I didn't get was because the buildup was him risking it to get an advantage, which was hopefully an idol, because people my age don't win Survivor. We have one person that's older than, or in his words, one person older than me has won Survivor, and that's Bob Crowley. Could have been Mike Turner, who I will only say good things about Mike Turner because I know Mike Turner listens to this and has roasted me once before and will be very willing to roast me again if I have a bad take. But I love Mike, so I will never tarnish his name. But I get that. And but then you play it. If you don't want to hide it, burn it.
Yeah.
Only way to guarantee 100% that you'll be there past the first vote is by playing it. But he has smarter senses. He has a good ally in Ellie supporting him. Now he has an idol for the next round, which could be useful depending on how their tribe continues to shake. Because I'm sure Sammy's going to want to try to blindside him. And if they still want to do tribe strong.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. But we see the other pitch is Sammy and Mariah don't want to vote for each other. Sammy wants to go for Owen. But what's weird is they make it sound like it's Mariah that's leading that charge and going around, where in the edit, the only times we hear Owen's name is from Sammy.
Yeah, I at least got the sense from watching it that it was, this was his idea. This was his play, what he wanted to do. And yeah, I don't know if it didn't
matter.
No, I don't know if it was just to get Mariah's name out there more, because you said we really hadn't heard from her all episode, and maybe give an actual reason. But I'd attribute that move, I guess, attempted a move being more on Sammy than anyone else.
I like the part that keeps getting to me is they're saying Mariah for her strength. Strength's very a subjective term. Because if we're going by physical strength or physical size, Janine's the smallest. Janine's the weakest. But I like Janine. I'm glad that she did well this episode overall.
Yeah.
She seems to be one of the few that have a clear head on that tribe right now. So I think a lot of people in the preseason had it right on the money that this was going to be the big personality tribe. And I feel like the person who's the most easily calm and collected during the process is the one that's going to survive this tribe. So good on her. She's the only one who clearly defines to Ellie in the edit of hey, if we want to do Mariah, that's fine. There's always going to be a conversation of once we take out one woman or one man, does the other gender then just take control? Which is a very base level of thinking, but it's something that's always considered. Especially if a guy goes, the guys then go, well, the girls are just going to run the show, so we can't let that happen. But it's to no avail. We get the tribal council. We ultimately see Mariah go in a 5-1 vote. So even the person leading the charge to send Owen out does not vote out Owen.
Which is just really weird, because I thought Mariah said that they technically won today. I missed that part of it, but
yeah, but which led to Sammy going, moral victories in this game mean nothing, and Owen going, I have enough moral victories in my real life, with my real job, with my real teams that I support. I don't need moral victories here. Which is true. It's moral victories are important in aspects of Survivor. Not in terms of an immunity challenge, though, because you either win or you are going to tribal, or you get second place. So there's 3 options. But having a moral victory stance for losing a challenge where someone has to go doesn't help anybody. You sort of have to be more realist there. But you can have the moral victories in oh, we finally got a fire after hours of trying. We are able to build a shelter. We are able to find fish. We are able to find food. I did a good job building relationships this day, and now I feel like I'm in better position. That's moral victories. But she says it in her final words. I was playing like it was my first time. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, working on talking to people, but not talking a lot of strategy with people. Whereas you have people like Ellie and Sammy on this tribe, and Owen, that are already they came in thinking of several moves, several decisions that could be made, and ultimately that seems to be part of what sends Mariah out. The other part being, if Ellie's truly the leader of this tribe, her bonding with Gabler helps save Gabler, even if he didn't have an idol.
Yeah. I mean, that could very much be it. I think it's also hard because you see before they go to tribal, it's Mariah goes up to Ellie and Janine and asks, just triple checking to make sure that we're good. And it could be just as simple as she put all of her eggs in that all-female basket. And well, at some point, maybe you do need to, commit 100% one way or another. Day 2 or 3, it's just too early to do that. More times than not, it's not going to work out for you.
Gotcha. Well, so we got our first boot. I believe next episode's supposed to be next week, 90 minutes, which I'm very interested to see how they use those 90 minutes. I am hopeful that this is their way of testing the waters and seeing, would CBS be good with us doing regular 90-minute episodes? Let us have a little more time where we can show more tribe life, more the camp strategy, so that we can go into tribal with an idea. Because like one of the things that people love about South Africa Survivor, Australian Survivor, is you're not trying to blindside the audience as you're going into tribal. Like you're going into tribal always knowing like these are the few people that could potentially be going unless something crazy happens. I'm all board on that because that's storytelling. You have to be a good storyteller with these types of seasons, and in a season that's shortened, that's so high pace and high speed because it's only 26 days. I think you need to have the longer episodes to truly highlight to the viewer everything that's happening, especially for the tribe going to tribal, and you need more time than just 42 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess my only fear is that they're switching it to an hour and a half, and that's going to be next week is where we're going to get 2 people going. I'm hoping that's not the case, and we're just going to see, more of, at least from the start of it, let's get to know these people. Let's understand it more. And as you pitched, that maybe it's them trying to say, hey, if we did it this way, would CBS be okay with it? Like, I don't know. Is that anyone going to be that upset if the Amazing Race or, SEAL team is a half an hour late? Probably not.
I demand my SEAL team that I obviously was watching, or I guess the Amazing Race was on after this. I'm was watching the Amazing Race while I was podcasting here, even though the screen says I can still press to go live at any moment. Which, as a reminder to all the viewers, when we get to the very end here and we put the end screen on, the screen may still be open for a few minutes, but we will be gone, and then the stream should end, according to StreamYard's tech support, while I was talking to them during this podcast. So I do want to thank all of you who have joined us tonight. Means a lot, especially without Johnny or Matt here. They're out doing the premiere. They will be back throughout the season, especially Matt. Johnny still has a couple other opportunities to go meet him at multiple locations, and he will plug them in future episodes for sure. I do not remember them off the top of my head. But if you also want to have most up-to-date information, become a patron of the Reality Aftershow at realitypatron.com. On there, we have a little Facebook community, as well as additional podcasts. Matt and Johnny are doing Australian Survivor coverage. They're currently in the middle of Australian Survivor All-Stars. I hear they like the Golden God.
It's good to see Matt did a 180 on him.
It's good to see all the 180s. He has the 180 on him, the 180 on Matt Rogers, who he called a douche in his preseason assessment of his original season. the true Godfather. As well as they do a weekly Q&A. Sometimes they'll have one of the patrons on as well, but you can ask anything and everything because it's a sort of no holds barred podcast where Johnny and Matt will just talk about what's been going on in their lives. And Johnny always has something going on that needs to be told to the masses, but in a good private setting of Patreon. So become a patron at Reality, patron.com. And moving forward, we're about to end the Big Brother coverage with Brent and Bobby Goodsby as that season comes to a close, as well as Challenge 38 Ride or Die season, where definitely all the pairs have met each other in person and know each other, or were more than just a hookup at one point or another. Will be competing for their share of $1 million. I will be back as well as Johnny, and I have given the invitation to Dan to join us after his brilliant coverage of Challenge USA with us. We will be back. I'm pretty sure we'll do those on Thursdays as well, considering Survivor will always come first.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to join in on that podcast as well.
And if you want to come first, you want to be properly groomed, get Manscaped using the promo code Survivor for 20% off. They love it when we do that. But with that, that's Dan Montchal. I'm Alex Trias. This is Reality Aftershow, and we'll see you next time.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.